So now, after reading the readings, you should be aware of what sustainable development is about. Okay? Now so the idea. Now we talk more in a positive sense, in a sense of what is the world and what is occurring, what has occurred and what is occurring. Material basis of the economy. This guy is not related to Anthropocene. This guy is a very nice person, Carl William Kapp. I'm in love with this guy. It could be my grandfather. I really love his writings. He was an economist, and he was brilliant because already in the 50s wrote a book about the social costs of the economic process. He wrote this book, The Social Cost of Private Enterprise, and in the 63 we got the second edition, The Social Cost of Business Enterprise. And what is social cost? Social cost is a wide concept. Sorry for those, because I forgot to animate them. And the purpose of the book is to present a detailed study of the manner in which private enterprise, under condition of unregulated competition, tends to give rise to social cost. As you can see, the issue is unregulated competition. In the free market, there is a system and the firms compete among them. And of course, if the purpose of the firm is to maximize profits, and if they compete on the basis of profit maximization, so they have a tendency, a systematic tendency to exploit everything. To exploit nature and to exploit workers. And why? Not because firms are ugly and entrepreneurs are ugly. Just because they will not survive if they do not exploit the environment. As you can see, unregulated competition, which are not accounted for. So cost shifting, shifted to and borne by third person and the community as a whole. Many of you could say, look, but this is externality. This is negative externality. Yes and no. Do you know the meaning of externality? It is something, a side effect, which does not enter the costs. I came here by car, but which is not true because I came here by bike, but I didn't take into account, into my calculation, the fact that burning gasoline pollute Pisa, increase damage the climate change problem, and so on. I didn't take this into account. Okay, everyone acquainted with the idea of a negative externality, of externality in economics. Okay, it is not. It is similar, but it's not the same. Because externalities in economics are side effects. I do something, I produce something, and as a side effect, I have some externality. Sometimes I have, sometimes I try to control pollution, and so on. Look at what Kapp says. The idea is that I must compete with the others. If I must compete with the others, I will not survive. if I don't exploit workers, if the market is unregulated. For instance, now many firms are going away from China. Do you know this? Many firms are moving to Vietnam. Do you know why? Cheaper. The labor force in China is too expensive. Wages are too high as compared to Vietnam. So many firms are leaving China and moving to Vietnam. Okay, and why? Just because in Japan, the rights of workers, in Vietnam, the rights of workers are fixed at a lower level. In Vietnam, firms can exploit better workforce. And the same for environmental law. If the law of a country, environmental law is very strict, then you move in other countries. But the reason is not that entrepreneurs are ugly, but the reason is just the system and the competition among systems. We have a very huge problem with fiscal revenue and taxation. You have places where taxation is very low, or for instance, companies that don't pay almost nothing of very low taxes. For instance, Amazon in Italy, or for instance, many firms go to the Netherlands because the Netherlands are kind of fiscal paradise of Europe. You can, if you are a big company, you can have a good deal with the fiscal authority in the Netherlands and pay very, very low taxes. And of course, this is called fiscal competition. And it is not externality. It is not something that I do my business and involuntarily I produce this, but it is voluntary. It is intended. It's not unintended consequence. It is cost shifting. I'm shifting the cost to the society. For instance, nuclear plants. I build, and then at the end of the life, it is the government that has to dismantle, to decommission the plant. So depending who, so I have maybe private profits and social costs. Or industrial, very important industrial plants, managed by private firms. And so the private firms do a lot of profits, then they close, or maybe they go bankrupt, and then who has to clean the area? The state. Who has to pay for those costs? The citizens, the taxpayers. And so Kapp said, for instance, if you read this, it's a kind of poem, it talks also about high social costs, not only in terms of ecological imbalances and overexploitation of resources, but also in terms of socioeconomic disruption. As you can see, Kapp was an humanist economist. He is not an environmentalist. He doesn't care about birds, fishes, or whatever. He cares about humans. And as you can see, social and personal relationship, dehumanization of the condition of individual existence and group relation. So the idea of Kapp, and actually in 1963 wrote a second book, the second edition, in which he says that it is not only private firms, but also, for instance, Soviet Union and firms run by the states, we have the same problems. No? And so the social cost and the cost shifting is something different. And of course, the idea of CAP was, in a sense, very simple because you have to read everything. And actually, it is unregulated competition. So the issue is not that competition is bad. We have to compete, but it must be fair competition. Okay? It must be the same competition. For instance, tax rates should be the same in all countries and for all companies. It is not fair that a big company, like for instance Amazon, pay very low taxes, and the shoe repairer, who is very small, or the artisan, pay more taxes than Amazon. Because the matter is not, again, is regulating competition in order not to destroy humans. Production and economic process should serve well-being, should serve material well-being, but not destroy the fabric of society and culture. So according to CAP, this is the most important. And actually CAP use always this word, which is society reproduction, which was the word which was used before the term sustainable development, which in my opinion is better to talk about social reproduction. I have a society, and I want this society to go on, and of course things change, and societies reproduce themselves, and so I have to understand under which condition I can keep on and what of a society I want to reproduce. For instance, I want to change also the society. I want people stopping smoking or decreasing smoking in order to reduce lung cancer, for instance. Okay, now we can go on next